In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Welcome to a Monday. Now, as you see, I am in a different location today, and that will be my location for the next few weeks at least, because I am visiting my parents in England, and it's parents and other family members. My brother, his wife, his daughter, who's 1 year old now, and I think she might be jumping into our videos uh, from time to time. But I'm here and still sharing the same message. Um, so today I'm going to talk about something which is a more recent lesson. Unlike the other ones, like food is for sharing, or love your father as he is, or don't multitask. Those are lessons that have maintained over time. But this one is a very recent one, and I'll tell you how it took place. 6 years ago, almost exactly 6 years ago, there was a military coup in Turkey. It severely affected my life, professional, academic, personal. And after a few months, I ended up leaving Turkey, moving back to my parents' house in England. Not this house, another house in England, and completely dejected, completely lost of what do I do now? I spent 7 years there. I have no center. Um, And I remember always having a story in my mind since 2013 or something. And there was a narrative in my mind. And I thought, you know what, one day I'm going to write this and I'll turn it into my first novel. And I remember going to my mother because I needed advice about what to do. And she said, well, just lay low for a bit, just watch how life unfolds. But in the meantime, um, just just try to if if you have something in your mind, try to put it to paper. So I sat down one day and I wrote and I put a story to paper. Just the plot of what the novel was going to be, and I wrote it out. um, and then I told my mother, okay, mom, I have a story. I have a story. I know along some lines what I'm going to write. But a novel is anything from 60,000 to 200,000 words, which is around 200 pages to 1,000 pages. We've read novels of different times, different sizes, and the genre is magical realism, it's historical fiction a bit. So those books are like Paulo Coelho, Elif Shafak, Orhan Pamuk, a few other Gabriel Garcia Marquez, a few Salman Rushdie, a few very celebrated authors in that genre, and their books are around three to 500 pages. So I thought I have to write something that long, and I said to my mom, "Mom, if a book is 300 pages, or it has to be 90,000 words, and if it's 400 pages, it has to be over 100,000." Um, I have I only have a summary. I have a plot, but I don't have any words. And she said, okay, do you want to write it or do you want to just talk about it? I said, well, I want to write it. And she said, okay, then every day before you come down for breakfast, you're going to write 1,000 words every day. And you have to do it whether it's a weekend or a weekday or whatever. You have to write 1,000 words a day minimum, or you don't have to go above 1,100. Just 1,000 words a day, no less, no more. Just 1,000 a day, and then you have to come down for breakfast. And I said, okay, if you say so, because I trust my mother implicitly, so um, completely. So if she says something, I'm always willing to try it. So I said, okay. And the next day I woke up and I said, okay, I have a chapter in mind. It's more than 1,000, but I'll just write 1,000. And I remember it was a grueling 1,000 because I wrote one sentence and I was like, oh, that's only 70, that's only 17 words. Oh, I have to write 100 more of these, give or take. And I was like, oh God, or at least 60 more of these. And I was very exhausted by it. Um, but I powered through. It was the first day you power through. The second day I powered through. The third day, I came downstairs. It was 2017 March ish, and I came downstairs, and my mom was like, she was in the kitchen, she was cutting something, and she said, "Did you write your thousand words?" And I said, "No, I didn't." And she's like, "No, go, go, write it." And mind you, at this time, I was 30 years old. I'm a grown up. I'm an adult. I've lived in Turkey. I've lived through a military coup. I've worked with the Turkish government. I'm an accomplished or somewhat accomplished person. But your mom's always going to be your mom. Okay, she can tell you, no, don't do this, don't do that. So she's like, no, do you want to write the book or not? And I said, I want to write it. Then go. Don't have breakfast. Because she knew that if I really wanted to have breakfast, she'd say, okay, go have breakfast. But she was trying to teach me something. She said, don't allow yourself to have breakfast until you've written the thousand words. Go. And I didn't, I'm not a child, so I didn't say, oh, no, I need to have it. I said, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to force myself to write. And I sat down and I couldn't focus and I was procrastinating and I was doing this and I was just, and I said, okay, I'll just write a paragraph. If I can write a paragraph, maybe that's better. And then I can just expand the paragraph by sliding sentences in between and making it longer. Lo and behold, I wrote another thousand that day. And the following day. And then a couple of days later, the same thing happened. Went down without writing. My mom was having breakfast. Have you written your thousand today? No, mom. Go. Go and write it. You need to be more disciplined with this. So I kept going and kept going um, till I started getting used to it. So I would get up, and even before going to the restroom, I'd be like, okay, I have an idea. So I had a structure, I had chapters. And I was like, okay, I only wrote 1,000 words of that chapter yesterday. I can finish that today and write a bit more of the other one, or or write a completely new one. And it was almost like a patchwork was taking shape, a tapestry, a little here, a little here, a little here, a little here. And before I knew it, I had written 35,000 words in a month, because some days I went over 1,000. 35,000 in a month. The following month, I was at 70. The following month, I had reached over 100,000. And the month after, I think we had to travel in July of 2017 to see for my niece's 1 year birthday or something. So that was the first break I took. So all of March, all of April, all of May, and most of June, when we had to travel, I had written around 110,000 words, which anybody can tell you is 350 pages of a properly sized and formatted novel. Not those novels which have the words bigger than your face. Properly sized and edited novel in less than 4 months. And that's only because she said 1,000 words a day. No less, no more. Sometimes I went more. I never went less. Sometimes I would go a bit more. If I'm trying to write a sentence and I've hit 1,000, I wouldn't leave it in the middle. I'd finish the sentence and finish a few more. And that little thing created the momentum that the more I put in it, the faster it would get and the bigger it would get. And and now I'm glad that 5 agents have seen it, and two of them I'm actually in conversation with. And I'm so happy, because if I hadn't, I would have nothing. And even now, with the academic work, with the TED work, with the company, with everything else that I'm doing, I need to edit a few pages of the novel because my agents have told me, like, you need to fix this part. And I'm like, okay, I'll fix it. And I've been procrastinating. I haven't been able to focus on it. Like, this is what I need to do. But believe you me, it's not going to be, all right, today's a Saturday, I'll edit the whole novel. No, that never works. This is what works. All right, it's the 4th of July. I'm going to continue working for the next 10 days on this novel. And every day, I'm going to edit at least 2 chapters. You're not writing them from scratch, you're editing. And those are the only 2 chapters that exist for you. It's not, I'll read this chapter, but I'll also read that and also, no. It's just this. It's focused, it's efficient, it's well planned, and it's easy to execute. So, the lesson that my mom has taught me here is that every problem is as big as you want to make it. So if you say, I have to write 100,000 words. Oh, it's going to take me 6 years. Ah, it will take you 6 years. But if you say 100,000 words, let's say 1,000 words per page, let's say that's a that's 100 pages. Let's say these are some big ass pages. Okay, if I can write 1 page a day, I can write 100,000 words in a bit over 3 months. You take the problem and you shrink it to the size where you can deal with it. So let's say let's say you are working. Let's go back to 2008 for the grown-ups, or the possibilities of a current recession for the young ones. And let's say that you have a fine job, you've made some investments, you've blown off some money on a car, on a bike, on other things that you really enjoy. Oh, Robert Berry has said hi. Sorry, Robert, I didn't see you. Robert Berry, please, please, whoever's on LinkedIn, please follow Robert Berry. I'm so proud of him, and I'm so glad to call him my friend, and spiritual guru, and so many things. Robert Berry is a brother to me. And thanks, Robert. Lovely to see you. And good one. Hello, my friend. Lovely to see you. You've been gone for a bit, but it's good to be in touch. Good one. Lovely to see you again. Um, so let's say you're working in a successful company and the recession hit and everything's gone. Oh, forget those, the pandemic. Let's say you're working in a sector which is heavily customer dependent and the pandemic happens and you lose everything. What do you do? There are people, historically and even today, whose first response is, this is it. I'm going to kill myself. This is their response. No, we don't give ourselves that luxury. There isn't a single person in my life who continues to be in my life who has that mindset. Oh, well, if things don't work out, you can end your life. No, no, not my friends, not people I'm associated with. Never. I would do everything I can to help them just so they don't go down that route. That route is weakness, it's cowardice, it's full of fear and running. It's you don't face up to your challenges. So I've never supported that. But this technique, it's not a technique, this approach that my mother used applies to everyone. So if you go bankrupt, or if you get robbed, or if your whole world comes crumbling down, all you have to do is look at the whole world and all of it is falling, and you say, okay, I am standing on this ground, and my next step will be here. No farther, not beyond. Robert Berry. That's kind of what happened to me. Lost everything, made a plan, bouncing back. And may I just tell everyone who's not as familiar with Robert's work, he's bouncing back like anything. Like anything. The way, like multiple podcasts and speaking gigs, and is it a vodcast? Is that what we call it today? Um, um, and shows and the corporate quitters and the interviews he does. There's so many things that Robert does, and he's part of Shanae Moret's Growth Academy for long periods of time, and completely incredible. And it's so true, Robert. So, Rob, we'll talk about this if you're around one day, because I'm in England right now, Rob. So I'm 5 hours ahead of you, so I know what's happening in the future. So, but we'll talk about this maybe one day. We can do a mutual show like we did before. Talk about your journey, because I was telling them that the lesson from my mother is you focus on the next goal, like the first one, the first problem. So if if your life is crumbling down, you start looking at the first thing and say, okay, all right, I'm going to put on my shoes. I'm going to put on my shoes. I'm going to tie my tie, and um, I'm going to get up, walk to the car, and drive to work. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not thinking of anything else. This is all I'm thinking about. And by the time you reach work, you're like, okay, well, at least I got to work in one piece. Um, I need to get to my table. You get to your table and you sit and you say, okay, there are 15 files on my table. I'm going to pick up the first one on the top and I'm going to read the first sentence. And before you know it, you've gone through the 15 files, solved that problem, started bouncing back from whatever calamity had befallen you, and started building back up. That is human nature. Human beings are so infinitely resilient that it's not even funny. I don't even use myself as an example. I don't even use Rob as an example. You can look at children. I have a niece. She's a year old. She falls every day. She's just learning how to walk. She walks like a penguin and then she falls and it hurts her. And 2 minutes later, sorry, 2 seconds later, she's back up and walking again. And then she falls and then she's back up. And for some reason, we believe that over the course of time, as we grow older, we lose that. We don't. That is the human spirit. We never lose that. And this lesson that my mother taught me at the age of 30 proves that. I ended up writing the novel. It's being edited, but if I hadn't written anything, I wouldn't be able to edit it. It's being edited as we speak. But it's only exists because my mother said, that resilience is part of us. So you write 1,000 a day every single day till it starts taking shape. It's just the same as going to the gym or learning a language or building a relationship or improving a tech skill. It's little by little by little, and it builds up into this huge thing. And the last thing I would say before I go is on this very lesson. Um, when I was younger, I would say things like, "I want to be the greatest," blah blah blah. I want to be the greatest this, and it sounds great coming from a child, but the developed mind never says that because the greatest is not a thing in the mind of somebody who is all of it. Okay, Robert is saying something else. Writing is a way to memorialize all our life. Absolutely. Rob, we need to do another session, buddy. Let's do another session because it's like we have multiple, we have audiences. Let's share them. Let's do a session. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, I was just going to say, you don't have to think in terms of being the greatest. So that's my mother. Mama tata kar de. Tata kar de sirf. That's my mother. So the greatest is not a thing in our minds anymore. Better every day. Better every day is the way one develops, and 1,000 words a day is just that mentality. Never ever think about, oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to gain this muscle or lose this weight and be this and all those things. That is useless. Yes, thank you, Rob. Hi, Mom. Yep, thank you so much. I'm gonna have her on next week because next week is a very useful lesson. So yeah, uh, whatever problem you're facing, whoever you are, whenever you watch this, whatever problem you're facing, break it down to trivialities, the smallest trivialities, the simplest things which you can resolve on that very day, in that very hour. You don't know if you're going to be alive tomorrow, but you do know that if you have a problem, you can solve it today. So the advice is this: create, make the problem, appropriate the problem in terms which are suitable to you, not to the problem, to you. 1,000 words a day is something even I can write. A novel is something I never thought I could until I did. So always have faith in yourself and break them down into the smallest bits. And that's the lesson for today. Thank you for